Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
Welcome to the Comedians and Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Jared Vineyard, here. Jared, say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Jared. I'm a screenwriter, filmmaker, director, producer, all that kind of fun stuff. Do a bit of comedy in there, so I guess maybe that's why I got invited onto this thing. I'm not totally sure, but happy to be here and
Very
excited to
cool.
have
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Well, what kind of comedy do you do? Stand up? Is it the writing or
I've
performing?
done stand up once. Actually, I used to teach classes that were like these grammar classes that would normally be terrible, where I'd be in front of a class just basically going through grammar stuff for 3 to 4 hours, and I kind of used to turn those into basic stand-up routines where I'd add all the jokes I could just to try to make it to where I'm not dying and the students aren't dying going through
Yeah.
those. But I've only ever done like one like real like stand-up show that I performed in, which was fun some years ago. It's not something I've chased after, but was
It's
one of the more
nerve-wracking to say the least, right?
it was nerve-wracking. Actually, auditioning for it was nerve-wracking. It's something I always wanted to try, and the audition was, I put together a set the night before, wrote something up, and then was in front of a handful of actual comedians, just giving a group, not like a crowd to where you get actual laughs and stuff, and so that was especially nerve-wracking was the audition for it. But then the thing itself was too. I think my wife probably hated my routine by the end because I was practicing it over and over again before before the event. But it was fun.
Well, that's good. So that gives you some context to basically get into the main topic of the podcast, which is to compare and contrast the comic
Mhm.
versus the comedian.
Okay.
So I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who's a funny person telling any jokes. So
Kind
in
of like
context,
backwards from the Leslie Nielsen version that he went on SNL years ago, and he was like the comic is what do you say? The comedian is someone who says funny things, and the comic is a person who says things funny. Uh, so it almost
well,
almost sounds
that
like the reverse of the of his definition.
no, that would be that way. It's very similar. I mean,
Yeah,
basically, you can no, it's very similar. The idea between you're funny inside versus funny
yeah,
on the outside. So,
sure,
like when you start out, you're mostly a comic, right? You're funny on the outside, memorize the jokes, and you continue, and then you develop into a comedian by learning your character in particular.
sure.
So, and of course, you still want to tell funny jokes. So the first question is about the role of persona in comedy. So, how
Okay.
much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
Hmm. I mean, I imagine that depends, from comedian to comedian and who's doing it. But I mean, you have the different ones where there's always seems like there's probably a persona, but the comedians that I tend to like best and that seem the most popular are the ones where it seems like a consistent persona with who that person is, like your Dave Chappelle's, Richard Pryor. It just seemed like they were up there being themselves, or Chris Rock. There's always a performative sort of feel to what he's doing, the way he performs, but it still feels like it's him, not necessarily just going up there and being a character. Um, you know, uh, so I don't know where the
Can
where the line ends, where you become something. I mean, there's others who seem to like just play characters or create characters that they'll do, or the oh gosh, who's uh, who's the guy from the Daily Show that had his spin-off that became giant, did his nighttime show.
uh, other than oh my gosh, now whenever this is the best part is they
The
just
the
leaves
the,
my
the, the
suit.
main
The
the,
main guy, yeah, I mean he is the Daily Show.
I mean not John Stewart, but the
Not
but
Jon
the,
Stewart. Okay.
but the guy who I'm surprised I'm going blank on his name right now.
Well, there's a
But he's
lot.
like played like he used to play like this kind of Republican character, conservative character, and he would Like it was always this character they did on the show, and then he got his own show, and for a while he was that character, and he kind of slowly became a little bit more just
himself.
himself, I guess. And it became more of a show about politics and being a funny show. But um,
Well,
but yeah,
there's definitely I don't know, I don't recall who it is, but there's definitely an overlap here between the comic and comedian, a Venn diagram. And so that particular situation I kind of say is in the middle
yeah,
because they're not being themselves, but they are portraying another kind of fictitious character, right?
yeah,
So there's some kind of in between. So I guess, does authenticity matter, or is the illusion part of the magic?
yeah. Authenticity definitely matters. Um, you know, uh, I feel like the best comedians are usually, to me at least, the ones I watch are the ones where it feels like it's that true person, and they're sharing things that are real to them. You know, but if they're going up there and they're saying things that are just fake, they don't believe in, they just doing for it usually comes off. You can tell it's not not real, doesn't feel genuine. I mean, even if you're playing a character, kind of put yourself into it in some kind of way or something, that brings some kind of authenticity to that character. So, I don't know. I think it's an important thing. And usually pretty big in creating comedy and creating things that people relate to and get into.
That are memorable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 100%. So, punching up versus punching down. Where
Hmm.
do comics versus comedians stand on this? So, let me put it in some different context, historical context. Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
You become the first comedian. I don't know if I'd say that's an uh, interesting thought. I'm not sure I totally believe in the idea of kind of punching down and stuff. It seems like often it's kind of this creating this sort of divide and stuff. I think it really just matters what are the ideas that you're saying, and people hear it and they're going to either go along with it or not. And kind of the best ideas win. I know um, you know Dave Chappelle had a little bit there where he talked about this idea of punching down in his routine, and was accused of having done that, or whatever that means as far as comedy and stuff goes. I don't know. You talk about an issue and you do it. I mean, the only time I don't know if you I really feel like a punching down sort of thing is happening is if you got a particularly powerful person who's attacking someone who doesn't have you know much power ability to defend himself or herself or whatever. But I don't know. It always feels a little bit marketing. Like the whole point of talking about that is to kind of create this divide and this this fight between, I don't know, put the ideas out there, and whatever the best ones are, they win. I don't know. It seems like the jester was already a comedian. Killing him didn't make the prince a comedian. It just took him out. And sometimes uh, yeah, I mean, if your comedy's bad, you die on stage. But and I guess in that situation, if it's bad, you can literally die. Or maybe he just insulted the ruler that he's supposed to be placating. Um,
Exactly. So, well, Dave Chappelle definitely doubled down on punching down. I mean, he's definitely made a thing of that. So would you say that the audience agreement with a comedian or even Dave Chappelle is a form of permission or alignment?
I mean, audience agreement is just going to be, you know, how big your audience is. Are there a lot of people who agree with you and who enjoy what you're saying? Or you might just have, you're saying interesting things that there's enough people that want to hear what you're saying, and maybe they'll oppose it or disagree or whatever. But I don't know about it being permission. I mean, as far as like doing stand up and having shows and stuff like that, you have to have an audience, I guess, or build an audience in some way in order to be able to do bigger and bigger shows. So there's a certain permission, but you kind of build that permission by your skill in telling jokes, skill in getting people to enjoy your performance and go along with whatever you're doing. So I don't know that that's just a granted thing. It's something you kind of earn and build up.
Okay.
And Chappelle has definitely done that. He's one of the best out there.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. So, 100%. So, crowd work versus crafted work.
Hmm.
If comics riff like influencers and comedians perform like in reaction videos, where is the sweet spot?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it depends on the performer. I mean, there are some performers who are really, really good at the crowd work. I've seen. Uh, I'll go to some stand-up things and on occasion, of course, watch specials or whatever, watch YouTube videos of comedians and stuff here and there. And man, some are just really, really good at kind of that improv sort of thing, talking to the crowd, doing that crowd work, and they're amazing at it. I've been to shows too where you got the people who try to interact with the crowd and really just more pick someone out to try to make fun of and see if they can get the audience laughing. And that always feels kind of cringy and it's not so good. People who are amazing at the crowd. I've seen comics who are really good at the crowd work, but then their actual bits are I'm not laughing that much, but I was laughing a lot when they were just with the audience and going back and forth. So it really depends on what your strengths are as a comedian. I would think. So I don't know if there's a specific sweet spot, just a sweet spot per performer.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, what happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work or when a comedian gets heckled?
Uh, well, the heckling has seemed to increase in recent years. I've seen more of that than before. The really good comics tend to handle the heckling pretty well. But I mean, it can definitely disrupt and destroy a show, and usually that's or yeah, at
So,
least
are you seeing the hecklers in live performances because they're not on specials?
no, they're not on specials. But if you watch, um, yeah, because usually they'll get cut out of a special. Well, especially usually a big star anyway. Like people are paying to for that star and are fans already. Probably not going to have as much heckling, and they know that this is going to be on Netflix or whatever else. Um, but there are you know, whole lines of videos and stuff all over YouTube with just comedians dealing with hecklers and stuff like that. I've watched a number of those, which are fun because
Yeah.
often the heckler might be someone who's just drunk and there's no inhibition there to stop them from shouting some stupid thing out or just someone who's annoying and gets
Mm.
uh, easily offended and you're at a show like it's they're gonna get into some offensive stuff or different things that are um just because that tends to be the nature of comedy to delve into some of those areas that are a little bit tricky, that are a little sensitive and stuff like that, and find the humor inside of them. Not all of it is, but plenty will be. But yeah, I mean, some drunk person in a crowd versus a comedian who's kind of honed their skills and worked on improv and different things, usually going to destroy that person. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, advertising and self promotion. Who
Uh-huh.
advertises themselves more, the comic or comedian? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast to get the message out today. See you soon.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm still not totally sure we have the same definition of comic and comedian, but yeah, but
Well,
I don't
what
know.
definition seems more appropriate?
Uh, well, I don't know. I mean, I still think of the comic as kind of that funny person, that is more of that character thing, and the comedian more of the joke teller, um, person. But I don't know. It's hard to differentiate the two in general for me. I'm not sure if one does it more than the other, or not. But um, but yeah, make sure I get my products out to advertise. But I don't know, the person who's probably the best at business is doing the most things. They've got the most opportunities, but yeah, whoever's become big enough that people are wanting to sponsor them. I don't know. It's tricky because maybe it's that in between thing. Because
Yep.
sometimes you feel like, someone's kind of selling out and doing all these little things just for the money thing. And it's like, all right, get past this so we can get back to the funny. Whereas, some would be beyond that. So it's like, hey, I do a giant show that fills up a stadium. I don't need to advertise and promote a bunch of things. But I don't know, if they're doing movies, they're doing different things, they're all going to be kind of promoting the different things that they do. And there's always that self-promotion. There's always, their own persona, their own character, something that they're building their audience and getting people to come back to more shows or check them out. Uh,
Well,
They've got,
is self-promotion, so I know you mentioned it, but is it seen as selling out or is it necessary for survival?
you mean self-promotion or
Self-promotion. Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, self-promotion is, I guess everybody kind of does that to an extent. This is um yeah, try to show what you do, try to expand your network, try to get more people to look at your stuff, build up your persona. So I think that's automatically part of the whole comedy, thing is,
Part of the shtick.
yeah, I can't imagine a comedian not having any kind of self-promotion, or you know, because no one else is going to promote them more than themselves, to at least to begin with.
At
So
the
they,
beginning.
they've
So
got,
since no,
yeah,
I agree 100%. What are you going to do at the beginning time, right? You gotta start out somewhere, right?
yeah.
So censorship and offense. Do comics avoid offense while comedians court it to prove a point, like the magician?
Hmm. I don't know. That's interesting. And again, I mean, it just feels person to person. Um, you'll have you have the people who kind of look for controversy and look for things to, that idea of, oh, any press is good press, sort of thing. While you have others who will delve into things that are possibly offensive and stuff just because it's interesting. It's something that maybe they're grappling with, and they're just kind of exploring it and finding the funny stuff that's inside of it. And it's topical. People care about it in some way.
Hmm.
While, you know, plenty just don't care. They're just looking for funny wherever they find it. And maybe it'll be in something that's kind of offensive. Maybe it won't. Um, well, I'm sure there are some who'll just try to stay away from it and just do, hey, this is good, clean comedy, and it's it's fun. Anybody can listen, and I'm not, you know, not trying to sell you on anything, not trying to get my message across, not trying to offend, just trying to, hey, let's all come out and have a good time.
So
I don't
so then
know what
who survives better in the cancel culture environment?
you mean, the comic or the comedian?
Yes.
No, uh, I don't know. I'm hoping we get past the whole cancel culture thing. I mean, where you see things like pulling up a comedian's joke or something that's online from years ago, and trying to cancel her over it or cancel him over it, and all that, you know, garbage. It's like, it's a joke. I mean, hopefully, yeah, hopefully,
Maybe AI is going to make it irrelevant when you're going to start getting deep fakes that, totally look real. And you won't know
yeah, they look
was
real,
it
but
some
AI is not very funny. I mean,
not
it's
yet.
not yet, not yet. I guess it could. There are some things that could be funny with it, but it doesn't quite have the soul of the thing. I mean, uh, people ask me sometimes if I worry about like AI replacing me as a writer or replacing whatever, and it's like, Not really. It's soulless. It just kind of puts things together, and it's definitely a tool anyone can use to create things. But I don't know. You're always going to have, people are going to be attracted to people and kind of see like the the uniqueness of that person, the comic timing and things like that. I don't think that's something that AI is really going to be able to master, to quite get to. I mean, I could be wrong. It might get there, but
It's
uh,
evolving pretty fast.
it's evolving. Yeah, but it's still a computer program.
Yeah.
Uh, at the end of the day, it's it doesn't have actual sentience. It doesn't feel like the crowd and be able to kind of interact with like, okay, this is getting, oh, this is not working. Let me kind of adjust and fit to this group. It's there's certain things that a machine is never going to be able to do. And
I I
yeah,
hope
so
not. I hope not.
at least
Like
in
timing
at
it,
least I think,
like
yeah. So.
right? So one of them I think might be timing and delivery. Is it a
Sure.
science or an art? So do comics rely more on structure and comedians more on rhythm and emotion?
I think it is an art. Um, I mean, there's certain things where you can kind of examine it scientifically, and like, I mean, when you're looking at like, comedy, it's a little faster. You got an up tempo, there's little beats of stop and then hit, versus like a horror suspense. You gotta slow things down and kind of build toward it. Like those sorts of things you can look at kind of scientifically to kind of see that pacing, but there's really an art and a feel to it. And um, so some of that comes to talent, like kind of having this sort of rhythm and being able to kind of feel when to hit something, and that makes it funnier. But I mean, you can always build that talent into a bigger skill. I'm not sure I mean, if the comic is kind of this character who's doing the the jokes and is funny, then it's really going to be that having that rhythm, having that timing, not necessarily the funny thing if the comedian is more the telling the really funny jokes and the really um, working it out and kind of designing the thing a little bit more. Um, then it's uh, you're not he's not totally relying just on that timing. It's a little bit more of the kind of the art of that creation. But hopefully they would both have that, because if you don't, I mean, you can have one of the funniest jokes in the world, and you got one guy who tells it and it's hysterical. You got some other guy who tells it and it's not funny at all. Just that delivery makes a big difference. So being able to do that is pretty important, I would suppose.
That's the goal. So
Yeah.
laughter versus applause. Are
hmm
comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks that validate the message?
I think they both want the laughs. If you're looking for the funny, and usually the applause is kind of like that next little level. So you laugh so hard that you start clapping,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, um, but also, yeah, I guess that applause kind of feels like a validation thing that you can kind of have at the end of your set. Hey, are they applauding? Are they laughing? Or is it, having that, or is it kind of quieter, polite little, yeah, thing that's uh, not what you want to leave the stage on. There's
No.
so I would imagine.
Yeah, the slow clap, it's this is
Yeah,
your message. Right. Yeah.
that's good. Okay, next. Yeah, it's not the best feeling, but yeah, I'd imagine both, and you want to. I mean, the laughs first, and they lead to the applause. So I don't know that one wants one more than the other one. I think that they would both kind of want both of those things.
Agree with that. So, comedy as commentary. When
Hmm.
does a comedian cross into being a philosopher or a preacher?
Hmm. Well, I think often, I think it's sometimes easier for the preacher or the philosopher to bring in some comedy, which opens up people to the preaching, the philosophy a little bit more than it necessarily is for the comedian to cross over into the preaching and into the philosophy, um, for people to accept it. Because people are, if you're going to a church, if you're going to a lecture, if you're going to these things where you're wanting to learn, you're wanting to hear things, the comedy will open you up to it a little bit more, but you're already open to that sort of thing. When you're going to see a comedian or a comic, you're not going there to be preached to. You're not going there to get a message. Right. So when the comedian kind of leaves the comedy and enters into that, you better be a really good performer, and just really likable to that you can take the audience on that. I mean, you've definitely got I think Chappelle actually does that sort of thing, where he'll take some time and he'll just start delving into something. Richard Pryor, when he would like kind of tell stories and stuff, there'd be a bit of that feel to it. And I think um, some who are a little bit more get to that point of being this really entertaining performer that people like and enjoy the persona of, then they get more leeway to be able to all right, let's just go on a little journey and we'll talk about things and we'll spend some time. Yeah, this is kind of getting serious, and then they hit you with like a giant joke that maybe hits harder because things kind of slow down as long as they can keep your attention for that part where they're getting more serious. But most of the time, especially if it's a comedian I haven't seen or don't know, if they're starting to jump into preaching at me and you know getting into philosophy rather than just being funny, I feel like I've been pulled into some kind of bait and switch situation that I'm not enjoying.
So it's definitely not good, and it does dilute the humor. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean most of the time. Yeah, so because that's not what we're looking for normally from the comics. Although they can get into things and they can hit things and they can do things in nice little poignant ways. Because I mean, humor does open you up to to listen and hear more. But you have to be pretty careful, I think, as a comic, because that's not what people are coming to see you do. They're coming to laugh. They're coming to forget about the problems. They're coming not to think about things, not to have to worry about it. Like they've got to deal with all these philosophical issues of life and all these things day to day. They don't want to for a little while. They want an hour, 5 minutes, half an hour, however long your set is of just gonna laugh, not think about anything, and just enjoy. I don't want the preaching right now. I don't want that. You know. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, for sure. So comedy and vulnerability.
Hmm.
I would say the comics hide behind their jokes and comedians expose themselves. Do
Hmm.
you agree? And if true, is one braver than the other?
Well, I mean, the more that the more that the comedian or comic kind of opens himself up or herself up to the audience, kind of reveals. I mean, that's a brave thing. Yeah, I mean, if you're saying that the comic is like this persona that's really kind of separating them from the audience and separating their jokes from who they are, then then yeah, the one that does kind of open up in a little more of that genuine way of this is me and putting it out there. There's somebody said that there's a little bit more bravery in that. But I don't know, getting up in front of a crowd and trying to entertain them, in and of itself is a pretty brave act. Uh, there's no guarantee you're going to get up there and they're going to laugh. I mean, the greatest comedians of all bombed at some point or other, and uh, had those rough moments, and so, uh, but but then I don't know when you're standing in front of people and then you get like the huge laughs. That's a great feeling on the opposite, end of the spectrum. So there's a big payoff that's being sought. So yeah, I'm not sure which one is braver, as far as a comic versus a comedian. But whichever one does actually open up more, I guess that's a little bit braver act if there's more revealing about themselves.
So, speaking of payoffs, here's the last question.
Okay.
Legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comic's tight five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
The cultural point of view seems seems set in time. Like this is the culture, this is the moment. Um, like is it Kathy Griffith? Like I was never a huge fan of her stand-up acts because most of the time she's like talking about other celebrities and things which I didn't really follow who's dating whom and who's doing what. I didn't never cared.
Right.
Um, right. And so it's um, she's funny and she's got talent, but it's a very kind of specific thing and it feels very cultural, you know, culturally pointed. Like this is like you almost need a context for it. Um, whereas the things that are a little bit broader, I think have the chance of being more memorable, or at least standing the test of time. Like you can go back, you can watch that again. Hey, this is just hilarious about like general family dynamics and things like that. That everyone kind of experiences, versus something that's like, oh, it's right in this moment about this specific thing, and you come back 10 years later, 20 years later, 50 years later, and it's like I don't know what this person is referring to. This is supposed to be funny, but I don't get any of it. So I would lean toward that broader one rather than that culturally specific one. Um, but I don't know. There's always comedians who kind of transcend, whatever is like we're, gonna remember Lucille Ball, and we're but I mean, yeah, her comedy was very very broad. If you go back to like people from, you know, like Benny Hill, was people still remember he was very broad. Um, yeah. I was about to say Bill Cosby. That one uh, that one kind of went in a different direction later on. But
Yes,
you
memorable
go
for
back and you look at the
sure.
comedy, it's really funny, but it's hard to watch
Yeah.
because you have like the mixed feelings for what, like, you know kind of get in there from what happened and what you learn later. But
You
uh,
definitely look at it with a second look with you imbue some more meaning into it at that
Yeah,
point,
yeah. I
right?
mean, yes, some of it. I mean, the stuff that's just about like the family and the kids and the things like that is just hilarious. But then yeah, there's some other things that he's got in some of his acts that you do look back and you're like, oh, wait. I think
Red
about
flag?
the context of he's, yeah, but
Well, that's the way to end it. So, Jared, thank you for being my
yeah,
guest.
good
Where can
good good on a
everybody,
downer there.
right? No, not at all.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you online?
I'm on LinkedIn is probably, if you're talking social media, is the one that I'm most active on. I've got a website that's more of a placeholder than anything else, but jaredvineyard.com. You can yeah, if you can find me, my IMDb or something, kind of see some stuff I'm up to there, or whatever. But yeah, reach out. I answer. It's how up here. I've been getting invited to some of these things lately for I'm not sure why, but yeah,
It's the
I
new way.
usually
This is
I
the
usually
new
say, yeah,
economy.
sure, I'll do your podcast or whatever. Why not? They're fun. Yeah, definitely thanks for having me on here.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you being my guest. And for everyone else, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.